Okay, so this is Ryan Morini with Vickie Oldham on June 23rd, 2012. So what can you tell us about the Looking for Angola project? What is it? Can you explain a little bit about Angola itself for us?
The story of Angola is about the courage, determination, creativity, and enterprise of enslaved Africans who were running from plantations in Georgia, Alabama, and the Carolinas. They came into Florida seeking safety and freedom. They had to fight a series of skirmishes, but they ended up in our community of Sarasota and Manatee County along the Braden River. And there, the settlement of men, women, and children lived in freedom from 1812 to 1821. They practiced their cultural traditions. They mingled with Seminoles and intermarried. They traded with the British and the Spanish and lived happily. But their influence grew as they traded with enemies of the United States. And so, indirectly, the provisional governor of Florida, Andrew Jackson, ordered their torching. And so in 1821, in a night raid, soldiers, troops, torched Angola. Many men, women, and children died that night. But there was a remnant who escaped. They ran south, ended up in Key Biscayne, where that point is in Miami, and they crossed the dangerous Gulf Stream in dugout boats, ended up in Red Bay's Andros Island, Bahamas, where there is a descendant population today. For me, that story was awfully empowering, and I wanted to tell it. Here's how it came about. I had been separated from my job, a job that I absolutely loved as a television reporter and host. And, in looking for things to do or what next, what I was going to transition into, I started accepting freelance projects. And so I was assigned a freelance project through Sarasota County government. They were putting a documentary together about Sarasota County history. And there was a writer on that project prior to my coming on. I was the second script writer on that documentary. When I read her script, I saw that she had Black presence coming into our area, Sarasota, Manatee County, during the Civil War. And I knew that Black presence was in our area long before the Civil War in the 1800s. And so I interjected the Angola settlement story into that script. And when we got around the script table, I had to corroborate that story with references and materials from our researchers. And we put a little bit of the Angola story in that documentary, maybe 4 sentences at best, because the story really wasn't about Angola. It was about Sarasota County's history as a whole. But when we laid that project to rest, that story of Angola kept nudging me. It kept nudging and nudging. Because, see, I was at a critical transition in my own life. And so some of the parallels of the people of Angola resonated with me. They were running for freedom. They had to make a way in Florida's wild and uncharted lands to find a place of safety where they could be. I was navigating the uncharted world and lands of unemployment, and so I was trying to figure out what I was going to do too. They were so brave. I had to be brave in redefining who I was. And so these ideas and the images of their story just bombarded my mind, even at night. I couldn't sleep. There were some moments when I couldn't sleep at night. And so I wondered, what should I do with these images? And I thought, maybe it's for me to tell the story of Angola in and of itself, not a part of a larger project. And besides, in revisiting their story, it was helping me because of their bravery and determination and creativity and how they made a way for themselves and so forth. I was getting empowered. And so Armed with that empowerment, I decided to tell their story. How? With no money. Well, the folks who were working on the Sarasota County documentary project, I got with them and asked, how did you find the money to do your project? And they told me it was through a grant in the state of Florida through the Department of State. I applied for a grant, and lo and behold, we got the grant. We got the grant to do archaeology. And I also interjected in there that we would put a documentary short together showing the work that we had done in trying to unearth artifacts of that Angola settlement. And I tell you, the project has expanded way beyond what I ever dreamed of. I was only intending to tell a story on documentary and a documentary short about that. And then, as I said, it's expanded into educational programs in schools. The History Channel gave us a grant. The Comcast Foundation gave us a $100,000 grant to share this story with teachers and students in schools. It's a website, lookingforangola.org. It's art projects, student art projects. However and wherever we can tell the story in multimedia form, we will.
Excellent, excellent. What have been some of the biggest challenges in moving this project forward?
Well, early on, it was that the community felt like this was just a tale. It was just a legend. Because there's so little written about the story in textbooks and, on the landscape where laymen can access it, the story is documented in scholarly journals, but not where a lay public can access it. So that was a challenge, getting the community to understand that the story actually existed and letting them know that there were primary source documents that proved, that this story existed through soldiers' journals and narratives that way, and a manifest as far as the people who landed in the Bahamas. Their names were taken down as they got off of that boat in Red Bay's Andros Island. So it was a challenge getting our community to grasp that the story was real, because it's not available in books. Another challenge has been certainly culling together grant money to continue the project, because I have a lot of scholars, maybe 5, that are involved with the Looking for Angola project. There's Dr. Uzi Baram from New College of Sarasota. There's Dr. Rosalind Howard from the University of Central Florida. There's Dr. Terrence White from the University of South Carolina. There is Dr. Cantor Brown at Fort Valley State University. But we are all involved with our own demanding jobs. And so somebody has had to pull this together and get grant funding. And I am an assistant vice president at Albany State University, very, very demanding jobs. So initially, I had time as I was redefining my career and I was taking on freelance projects. I had time to go after grant funding, writing those grants, taking as much time as I needed to. But now, with a demanding job, and I got that job like 5.5 years ago, and it had everything to do with the Angola project. I'll share that with you. It has been challenging keeping the project going through grant funding. And then the archaeology, it has not been that we've gotten big chunks of money to do archaeology. We've gotten small amounts like $25,000 here and $20,000 there, where you can only do limited archaeology with that small amount of grant money.
Yeah, archaeology isn't cheap.
Exactly.
Or quick, for that matter. I know your time is limited today, but is there anything else you'd like to tell us about the project?
Well, I want to tell you that I am incredibly grateful to the descendants and the ancestors of Angola because they set my feet on track, and I might get a little misty when I tell this story. They are responsible for helping me to redefine my career. I had come out of television news, and as I said earlier in this interview, I didn't really know what I was going to become or morph into. But it is because of that Angola story that a professor of history at Florida A&M University, he was becoming the president of Fort Valley State University, and he had heard about my work. He's a preeminent scholar of Florida history. He heard about my work in developing the Angola project, and he tapped me for a job at Fort Valley State when he became president to be the marketing director there. And I was there for 5.5 years as the marketing director, and then went on to Albany State to become an assistant vice president of institutional advancement. So who knows where this job leads, but I have the Angola inhabitants to thank for getting me to the point where I am today.
Well, thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you for having me.